Hey everyone, welcome to Reddit Readout. Today we are checking out People of Reddit. Story 1. That's okay, use my soap and deodorant. My brother, well over 20s, still lives with us. He uses everything I own to the point I have to lock it up with 3 locks. Our parents only tell him to stop, but he never does. A couple weeks ago, I was fed up. I had just got home from school and decided that I would leave some stuff out. But, the stuff was deodorant and soap. I went to the bathroom to unleash the most messiest bowel movement ever. Yes, I wiped, not that you think the next part is grosser than it actually is, and turned the shower on, but before I went in I rubbed the deodorant on my buttocks and put it back for him to use. In the shower, I took the bar of soap and rubbed it on my bum as well. I really scrubbed. Have fun using my stuff. Never steal siblings' items. Story 2. The gravity of the situation. My grade 12 calculus teacher was a bit on the sarcastic side and I was, and still am, a bit of a smart-ass jerk. We got along well. One day. Mr. C, we're ahead of the other calculus classes by 2 or 3 days. Brief pause, it must be because you're such brilliant students. Me, well, it can't be because of the teacher. Cue classroom laughter and what today we call a shocked Pikachu face from Mr. C. A week or so later, a question on our next test. TDLMTH is hurled off a building 200 m tall. At the same instant, a flower pot is pushed off a ledge 100 m up. At what initial velocity must TDLMTH be hurled off the top so that he and the flower pot soil the pavement at the same time? Well played, Mr. C. Well played. Story 3. 20-plus-year-old vengeful pettiness comes to fruition. A few months ago I got a call from my very distressed and angry godson, his piece of shit mother, momster, and soon-to-be ex-wife, STBX, have conspired to hide STBX's cheating and attempted theft of estate and heirlooms. Quick backstory, I introduced godson's parents without knowing at the time momster was a gold-digging narcissistic monster. Parents had an extremely ugly and long divorce. When godson turned 18 and divorce was still ongoing, father removed himself from his family's multi-generational estate/trust to transfer all of it, including house, to godson. As a Christmas/Hanukkah present, godson served both parents with eviction notice. Father's envelope also had a rental agreement. Within a few months parents' divorce was finalized and both father and godson were no contract with momster. Due to her deplorable treatment of godson, I was already no contract with momster. After godson vented about learning momster and STBX had been attempting to access the safety deposit boxes at banks and safes within home with the intention of stealing contents. The final straw was STBX's flavor of the week, along with the vile pair of women were trying to cut into a safe when godson got home with their child she forgotten pick up. STBX and CO conspirators were so involved with the safe break-in that the child was forgotten and godson was called by school to pick up child. Godson had a inkling of STBX's infidelity beforehand and had security cameras footage in home, and the door's cameras were backup to estate lawyers. Godson was in the process of drawing up divorce papers due to infidelity and was waiting for the more proof because godson wanted full custody of their child. Now his child is still a minor but of the age to choose which parent they want to live with, and wants to stay with godson and in the home. STBX gets absolutely no monetary compensation due to infidelity, as the very detailed prenuptial detailed. STBX is pissed to say the least, and is trying all the dirty games momster tried all those years ago plus new games. Godson is heartbroken because he truly loves STBX, and his parents' divorce really affected him. He never wanted a repeat of his parents' divorce and didn't want his child to experience what he did. During one of our last call, godson is venting about the newest manipulation of STBX and momster, and his and child's heartbreak. Yes, they are both in joint and individual therapy. I remembered something about his parents' divorce, a little clause I mentioned to father to add to divorce decree. I never read their papers and am not sure if my little petty addition was actually added. I mentioned to godson to ask lawyers to research momster's divorce papers for a conspiracy against estate or something like that. I received a text from godson. Is this your vengeful petty edition? Followed with an image full of legalese and momster's signature at end of paragraph. The legalese basically stating any involvement to acquire trust/estate assets will nullify any and all previously incurred monetary compensation received by plaintiff, and all monetary compensation will be refunded to trust/estate with interest at market value. Snicker snicker, I really am a vindictive and protective god mom. I texted back, bwahaha. Yup, happy your father was pissed enough to add my pettiness. Yes, momster got alimony, and yes, she agreed to the stipulation. So, yes, momster's involvement in the attempted theft has caused her to lose alimony and now must repay all alimony with interest. I was petty vengeful even then. Cooler minds, father and lawyers, prevailed and didn't allow me to car compactor all her belongings into a big cube, so I wanted to get her where she would feel it most. And I'm shocked godson's big teddy bear of a father really followed through with my addition to the divorce decree. Momster is now crying about her son stealing from her, STBX isn't fighting the divorce or child custody. And godson and grand-godson are planning a summer world tour on momster's dime. Finally, a new and updated vengeful petty clause is being added to the new divorce papers. Don't hurt my godsons, or I'll come after you. STBX email is being bombed with spam mail, thank from me. Whenever I see an email sign up for free information, I use hers. It's a little pettiness and absolutely entertaining for me. Edited to make STBX and momster easier to follow. Story 4. Dip your testicles and penis in my drink while I'm away. This happened a few years ago. I used to play pool for a pub team and my nephew wanted to join. He was 19 at the time, so a few of us would show up a few hours early at the pub to get a good few games in to sharpen up ready for our league game. There was about 5 or 6 of us in the pool room at the time. I had just bought a fresh pint of Pepsi, don't drink KN a work night, and decided to nip off to the toilet. So my nephew decides he wants to dip his penis and testicles into my drink. Now I have a nose for when someone tries to play a prank on me and knew something was up as everyone went silent and 1 or 2 were smirking. I look at my mate as pick my drink up and he shakes his head slightly. I pipe up, okay, who has fucked with my drink? The lads start laughing. Johnny says in my ear it was my nephew and to not drink it. After a bit of pressing he tells me what he did. So I remind him that I may be fat like an elephant, but like an elephant I never forget and you will. I'm chubby BTW not fat. Q a fortnight later and the nephew strolls in with a large bottle of Energizer energy drink, puts it down by the pool table and disappears to the toilets. Cue my revenge. I grab the bottle and disappear behind the pool table, whip my trousers and pants down and rub the bottle neck between the cheeks of my ass. I had showered after getting home from work and the pub was hot so I was a little sweaty. Popped the top back on and pulled my trousers back up and put the bottle back just in the nick of time. Nephew walks in, opens the bottle, puts his lips around the neck of the bottle and downs the lot. Both me and Johnny laughed so hard as he did it. The nephew then asked what we was laughing at, to which I reminded him of me telling him he would forget, and also asked how my arse tasted. To this day he has never tried to pull another prank on me. Edited to keep those who like paragraphs happy. Also, as some may feel this is gross, sick, or vulgar etc., you're welcome to your opinion. My thought process in doing this back to him was, if you think that you're funny doing that to me, I can put do you so you never fuck with me again. Which he has not. I know it is a vulgar and horrible thing to do, but in my eyes it taught my nephew a lesson, one which he will never forget. Don't mess with Uncle Dan. Story 5. Short and fun revenge on an English teacher. Disclaimer, this is light-hearted and fun, so hopefully it helps cheer someone up on a bad day. This happened almost 20 years ago, but another post reminded me of it. Feel free to point and laugh at mistakes. Just to start off, I got along great with this teacher in question, Mr. O. He was awesome but also a smart ass, unfortunately so am I. One day after handing in a book report, the grade I got back was less than I thought it should be as I put a lot of work into it. When I asked Mr. O about it, he replied something along the lines of it wasn't up to your usual standards, so he knocked some points off. I still passed it, but it bugged me. I get now he was trying to push me to do my best, but it irked me. Then SACE time came, and for our English exam we had 1 hour to submit a 250-word exam on the teacher's choice of subject. Mr. O was and always had been a huge superhero comics fan, so he tasked us to write an exam on what would happen if we suddenly developed superpowers. He then looked at me and said something to the effect of I expect great things from you all, get going. Most of the other people in the class wrote the standard sort of fare, but I decided to cheat Mr. O out of the story he wanted. I knew he was looking forward to my story as he had come to enjoy the extra creative flair I always used to put in for an epic story. Instead, I wrote a story about being a balding, 40-year-old mechanic who one day accidentally kept starting fires. I made this the most compelling and funny story I had ever written and was the first to hand it in. When the results came back, he conceded it was one of the funniest things he had read and had even shown the other teachers, who pressured him into giving me extra credit for it. For those not in South Australia, SACE is basically the culmination of high schooling here. It's basically 2 weeks of exams before graduation. TLDR, teacher knocked points off of one assignment but gave them back on a better one I did later. Story 6. Entitled Coworker. Many years ago I used to work nights and shared a cubicle workspace with someone who worked days. We'll call her Karen. Karen apparently thought the entire cubicle belonged to her and nobody was allowed to sit there, everything was labeled with her name and she would lock the desk. I had to get a separate file cabinet just so I could store my files and stuff as she was not willing to share. She had little knickknacks, figures, all over the desk in inconvenient areas that made it difficult to work so I would simply move them to the monitor stand out of the way. I'm short and she's tall, I'd adjust the seat, monitor and phone to be comfortable, hated feeling like a little kid with my feet dangling. Fast forward a few weeks of doing the routine of moving the figures and adjusting the workspace for my use. I come in and there's an 11x14 piece of paper taped to the monitor with an aggressive note, "Night person, do not move my stuff. It's not yours to touch and stop adjusting the seat and monitor because it's not ergonomically correct, blah blah blah." I showed my manager the letter and how the desk was when I came in, then again after adjusting it to my needs. He laughed and said, "She's crazy, continue to adjust it to better suit your needs and she can do the same when she comes in." The petty revenge. I started moving everything into random configurations daily for a couple weeks. Monitor in front of desk and everything behind it stacked up like a pyramid, unplugged phone from base and put the mouse in its place, left seat upside down, etc. I recruited co-workers to get in on the fun, helping to redesign each new layout. It reminded me of what Jim used to do to Dwight in the office. We didn't go as far as putting her stapler in Jell-O, lol. My friend worked days 2 cubicles over, conveniently next to the manager's office, and said Karen would stomp past her every day to complain to the manager about the night person who was destroying her stuff and making it difficult to work. She conveniently left out the fact she had left a note starting this whole petty revenge. After about a week of her complaining, the manager asked if anything was missing or broken and she said, "Well, no, but..." Tired of her BS, they cut her off and said to simply readjust to her needs and only come to them if anything was vandalized. It was fun to hear from my friend how hot and bothered she was not knowing what she would find each morning. I never saw another note from her, but about a year later she was voluntold to move to nights. She was telling a few of us about the situation, of course playing the victim, and asked if we had any idea who it could have been. The cubicle was empty because I had promoted and no longer sat at her desk by this time. Guess she expected the person, me, to get thrown under the bus because the day crew was cutthroat. Little did she know the night crew was ride or die, lol. We all played dumb and started laughing the second she walked outside. No, the cubicle does not belong to you, others are allowed to use it and adjust items accordingly, you entitled Karen. That's all for today. Please don't forget to like and subscribe.